Welcome back, our dear viewers. As we have promised at the beginning of the episode, we are going to talk today about the latest developments concerning the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. Yesterday, the 11th round of the talks between Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia took place, the second round this month, between the ministers of the foreign ministers of the three countries and the ministers of water resources and irrigation, in order to see what steps should be taken, what are the developments on the ground, and how we can find a way out of this crisis, which is causing many question marks for the Egyptians, and concerns about the future of the Egyptian share of the water Nile, as we are already suffering from water scarcity, and we are totally dependent on the Nile River for our water here in Egypt. To shed more light on the topic, we are very much delighted to have our dear guest in the studio, Dr. Mohamed A Atty. He is the former chairman of the Nile water sector. Hello, doctor, and thank you very much for being with us.
Good morning, Dr. Atty. Now, as Majesty mentioned, this is the second round of negotiations this month. Now, how do you read this last round of negotiations?
This second round of negotiation looks like, as we see from the rumors in the news, that there are some sort of optimistic. There was some discussions about the last framework agreements that have been signed between the three presidents, and in clarifying some key points. The first point is about the no significant harm. From the Egyptian point of view, no significant harm means that we will not, or the Egyptian share of water will not be touched. I mean the 55.5. From the Ethiopian point of view, that it is another clarification. This is one thing. The second thing that have been discussed also, it was point 4 and 5, dealing with this, no significant harm, and the way we resolve the issues. So I think they are reaching some way of agreement on clarifying the meaning of these 2 points. This is one track, the political track, legal track. Yeah. The second track is the technical track. And also, as the leakages or from the rumors today, that there is an agreement, also there will be an agreement of having 2 firms. They will replace the Dutch firm with another firm.
But why did we reach this point of stalemate, or this point of conflict between the three countries regarding the firms? Why did we reach this point?
Actually, because the way the firms have been selected was a classical way. Yeah. It was, I believe it was wrong. It should not have been taken this way, or chosen the way they have chosen it. They started the classical way. They pre-qualified some firms, and they made short listing, and then they made bidding. They had technical proposals and financial proposals, and evaluation of these firms. All this process took a long time. As we are having a project that is unurgent, or as if it is an urgent matter. Anyway, this is history now, and it is past. And let's think on what will be done to retune the track and bring it into the right order.
But Dr. Atty, do you think that this was meant, or was it intentional, in order to buy time, because they are proceeding with building the dam, with the construction, and a lot of time has been wasted on choosing the firms and consultancy and so on and so forth, and as you mentioned, even choosing the firm took a long time. So do you think that that was intentional, to buy time?
I tell you, every part or every party have its own agenda. So, and everyone is trying to fulfill his agenda. Of the interest of Ethiopians, they are interested in having most of the dam to be constructed enough time before having the studies or reaching an agreement, and this their way. On the other side, also we have some, I would not say mistakes, but some evaluation of the situation, that we should follow different way to select the firm. Anyway, as I said, it is a history now. Let's think on the future. Hopefully that these two firms will be recruited within this meeting, and they will start quickly doing these studies. That would take about a year to be concluded.
But as we are talking here, Dr. Mohamed, and as the meetings and the 11th meeting of the three countries is taking place in Khartoum, the construction of the dam is going on. So to what extent we could reach something concrete which could not be harmful to Egypt, while we did not reach anything yet, and still the construction of the dam is completed, and we could be harmed very soon in our share of the water. So what could be the way out here?
The way out, actually, as I said, we have two tracks. Now the political legal track,
which is going on.
Going on.
Yes.
Because we need to set rules on the filling of the dam, the operation of the dam, how we will manage the dam. These are three key things that we need to reach an agreement. The second part is the technical part. Parallel to these two tracks is the construction phase that's going on. We need to aware about the interface between the three tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the outputs of these meetings, but as I said, the rumors that is being around that there will be an agreement on the 2 points, the filling scenarios of the dam, whether we will start filling the dam after reaching an agreement on the studies. This is one thing. The second thing is the no significant harm. How can we clarify the meaning of this from different sides? Because there was different perception about the meaning of these two key elements of the framework agreement. So let's wait and see what would be the conclusion of this meeting.
Okay. Sir, there were also reports that Ethiopia has plans for 150 projects and other dams. How would this affect the current negotiations?
Let's talk about the Blue Nile. The Blue Nile, which is the concern now. The Blue Nile, there are plans. Initially, it was planned to construct 4 dams in total. But
on the Blue Nile?
On the Blue Nile.
Yeah.
With total capacity, storage capacity of about 200 billion cubic meters of water. In addition to that, of course, there will be other projects, not dams, but it might be development projects like, I mean, agriculture or irrigation projects. So these are kinds of projects. The 150 projects.
Water projects.
Yes, I doubt that this figure is correct, but there are many projects that are planned to be constructed. So if we talk about why do we do this negotiation, or why do we waste our time in negotiation that is useless, or as the perception here is being. No, it is not useless, because we are putting some foundation for future projects. If we are able to reach some agreements on the Renaissance Dam without big tension, but negotiation is a challenging negotiation, and we need to be patient, or have patience to get some conclusions. This will help us in future projects, because we will put the case for the next project, because there will be other projects in the future.
Dr. Atty, can you please tell, Dr. Abdel, can you please tell us about the retransferring or the rechange of the direction of the Blue Nile? To what extent we have been hearing about that it could be harmful to Egypt and the amount of water that reach Egypt?
Let's say that during the construction of the dam, there was diversion. In 2013, there was diversion of the river to relieve or to dry out the area of the dam construction, the site to construct the dam. Now the dam have reached advanced stages of construction. They are bringing back the diversion to its original location.
Is this harmful in any way to Egypt?
I cannot say that, because it depends whether it will release the water or will store the water. If we start filling the dam, there might be some impacts because we are in drought time. If the water will be released, I think it will be as if we didn't do the diversion. So it depends the way it will be managed, and I believe that it is part of the current negotiations in Sudan.
Okay. Dr. Abdul Atty, before you went on air, you mentioned that there is a historical background for this whole issue that went through phases. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, it is a long history. It started in, let's say, in 1902, when we signed the agreement with the Emperor, Ethiopian Emperor, the 1902 agreement. In addition, there are other agreements in 1929, and in 2003 with the former President Mubarak. They now signed an agreement that they will not harm or will not construct any structure that would affect Egypt, the flow to Egypt, yes. And then it progressed. In 1999, there was the Nile Basin Initiative for having a framework agreement between of cooperation among the whole Nile Basin countries. But it ended up that Egypt didn't sign the agreement because of it didn't consider the Egyptian concerns, especially in two issues: the water security issue and the what I would say the notification, prior notification to construction of any project. Then suddenly after January 25th, Ethiopian announced the construction of the Renaissance Dam. By the way, this announcement is a breach of the Nile Basin that is being ratified by Ethiopia and Rwanda, because the Nile Basin agreement or framework mentions that the Nile Basin countries have to agree on the development of the Nile water resources and the projects. But they suddenly announced it on...
without agreeing with other parties.
Yes, without considering this framework. That is not signed by Egypt, but signed by Ethiopia, but they didn't respect it. Then it followed by the visit of Dr. Sam Sharaf, the former Prime Minister, to Ethiopia, and agreement with the former passed away Meles Zenawi that will have this tripartite international panel of experts. The first phase of the international panel of experts, they agreed that there are some missing studies in the dam, that the studies are not complete. And this, though of the claim of Ethiopia that they have complete studies of the dam. Then this is the first phase, that every party or the three countries agreed that there are missing two studies mainly, and the current negotiations how to implement these two studies. They are mainly on the impacts of the dam on the downstream countries, especially in Egypt, as well as the filling and management scenarios of the dam so as not to affect the operation of downstream structures.
Dr. Abdul Atty, how to read the Ethiopian stance, and why we are seeing here some kind of rigidity, or they are not flexible enough in the negotiations concerning the dam issue?
Let me say that I worked in Ethiopia for 3 years, and I have many Ethiopian friends.
Yes.
And let's understand each other's perception. For Ethiopians, they have to understand that Egypt is the driest country in the world, mostly. We have very little rainfall. We are
depending totally on the river
97% of our
water. They are using only the Nile for and the dam for generating electricity.
This is our perception. We have the challenges of the sea level rise and inundation of the delta, or major parts of the delta, and migration of 4 to 8 million persons from North Delta due to climate change. These are our challenges. We are facing water pollution because we are recycling water several times to fulfill our water needs that are about 105 billion cubic meter. How come this figure came from 55.5 from the Nile, recycling another about 25. So this our water needs is about 87. Then we have about 25 billion cubic meter of water imported, what we call virtual water.
Yeah.
Because if we cultivate these crops that we import from outside, it will consume another 27 billion cubic meter in total. So this our water needs 105 billion cubic meter. On the other side, the Ethiopian perception that Ethiopia is a poor country, and they have, plans and ambitions to do development, and it is their right. So we are with the development of Ethiopia. We are of reducing the poverty rate in Ethiopia. We are on having peace and security in the region. Ethiopia is a big country. Egypt is a big country also in each region. So everyone have a role in the regional stability, and we need to consider that in our, consideration negotiating with our neighbors. So we need to consider all these aspects, that we need to understand their situation and they have to understand our situation.
Indeed.
In this case, if both sides understand the perception of each other, changing the perception that we need them to develop, to reduce poverty, to increase the income rates and increase the availability of electricity. These are rights, and we need to consider that. The way we negotiate, we need to fulfill the rights of each other. That we need not to affect our water share, and at the same time doing the development there that will not affect us. And this is what we call the trade-off between the needs of each other. And we need this focus on it, in our discussions.
Okay. Sir, how do you read the stance of Sudan? Because this raises so many questions. Also taking some sort of background, because it changed its stance, Sudan, several times. How do you read it?
Let's say that the perception about Sudan also, I'm sorry to say that our perception might not be 100% correct. Sudan has many issues with the south, on the Ethiopian border, with internally, also they have so many problems. There is an interface between the Ethiopia and Sudan. Ethiopia have made the power interconnection between Ethiopia and Sudan. Ethiopia is interfering in the North-South Sudan conflict. There are tribes on the border between Ethiopia and Sudan. This is the situation, and we need to understand that also. When we talk about Sudan, we need to understand their situation so as not to give the right judge. They are playing a pivotal role actually in this negotiation. And let's be clear that without Sudan, there will be a big issue. So Sudan is a pivot in this negotiation, and we need to consider that, and we need to understand this situation so as to have the right judge on their position.
Mr. Abdul Atty, can you tell us, as the former chairman of the Nile water sector, we are having this issue about the share of the water Nile, the Egyptian share, because we are already suffering from water scarcity. So how do you see the Egyptian percentage from the Nile up to this moment, and to what extent we are considered to be a country who is already suffering from water scarcity, and what could be the way out here?
Let's say that the biggest challenge, I have made several scenarios on the water challenges, and the biggest challenge that faces Egypt and the Nile Basin countries is the population increase. Remember when we were in 1959, when we signed the agreement, our population was less than 20 million. And the per capita water share was above maybe 2,000 cubic meter. Now it is less than 600 cubic meter. The same applies to the other Nile Basin countries. Country like Kenya, for example, the water share now per capita is about 3,000 cubic meter. In 2050, it will be less than 1,000 cubic meter due to population increase. So population increase is one challenge that faces Egypt and the Nile Basin country. So if we are to think about supporting each other, we need to provide some actions with agreement with the Nile Basin country to control the population increase. This is one challenge because it affects on the consumption. The development rate would increase the consumption rate. The consumption rate will be reflected on the water consumption, because if your consumption pattern will increase, this means that you need more crops, you need more meat, and you need more water. For example, if 1 kilo gram of meat consumption have increased in the whole Nile Basin country, we are talking about 300 million kilogram. That means that a consumption more than maybe 10 billion cubic meter of water, 1 kilo. So imagine the pressure that would apply on the water resources in the Nile Basin countries. So we need to cooperate with the Nile Basin countries to resolve our challenges and to have a sort of regional planning and national implementation of the project so as to face the future challenges in the region. And we don't expect that this negotiation will end at this current term or current round, but we expect that other rounds will happen. There will be issues. This is not the end of the issues. There will be other issues and there will be other obstacles, and it will go up and down till we reach some fair agreement. And I would stress on that. If unfair agreement is not reached, will be, I mean, the tension will be there all the time. And we are not talking about only this dam, but it should expand to other projects and other cooperation in the basin.
Okay, but sir, what's the point of signing agreements if some parties do actually adhere to these agreements? I mean, you just mentioned that Ethiopia did not adhere to a previously signed agreement, and it breached the agreement by moving on with the construction of the dam without the consent of other countries as stipulated by the agreement. So what would be the point of going through all these negotiations in order to reach an agreement and then it wouldn't be respected?
I would say that the difference between this agreement and previous agreements is that the three ministers or the three presidents of the countries, the Ethiopian president, Sudanese president, and the Ethiopian prime minister, are taking care of the, I mean, this negotiation. So these negotiations are under the auspices of this, the presidential pressure, and it is witnessed by internationally. So I think reaching a firm agreement would be a plus to everyone, but it is not easy to reach it at the same time. It will take time.
Indeed. Doctor, before we go, can you just mention the challenges that we are facing regarding the water here in Egypt?
We have many challenges. As I mentioned, the population increase. This is one challenge that we need to, because it affects on the consumption, on the water share per capita. This decreasing now, it is less than 600 cubic meter per capita. In the future, it will decrease. It affects water quality. This is one challenge. The other challenge actually is the inflow. We're relying on 97% of our water from the Nile. And this is another challenge that we need to consider. How can we keep this amount of water as it is? Even with cooperation, hopefully, with cooperation with the Nile Basin countries, that will manage to increase this share. But I doubt that it would happen in the near future. The third challenge is climate change. Climate change, Egypt is vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable countries in the world to climate change, especially the delta. The delta is vulnerable to sea level rise and inundation of major parts. Maybe we would say 3 to 4 million area of land, depending on the scenarios and the adaptation actions that would take into adapt to climate change. This will lead to resettlement of about 4 to 8 million persons in the North Delta to other places due to the inundation of their lands, unless rigorous actions are taken to control the sea level rise. So these are the major challenges that we are facing. We are facing also, I mean, water requirements, that our water requirements are increasing and our water resources, fresh water resources, are limited. So we recycle water several times. Recycling water would require treatment of polluted water so as to mix it with the fresh water, so as not to affect the public health.
Indeed. Well, definitely we'll have to wait and see the outcome of this current round of negotiations as well as the upcoming ones. It needs patience, so we just
Let's be optimistic, yes.
Let's be optimistic. Dr. Mohamed A Atty, former chairman of the Nile Water Sector, thank you very much, sir, for being with us.
Thank you very much, sir.
And we'll take a short break, then we'll be right back. Stay with us.